everybody, it's Dena Blizzard, and you may be saying to yourself, what is happening? Because it's Monday, and Dena seems to be ready to drink in her kitchen, but I am ready to drink, but tonight is ginger ale. My stomach actually hurts again tonight, so I need to get ready for tomorrow's Tipsy Tuesday, and my mom is making Dixie pie, so it's very exciting. But today is an exciting day because we are about to launch our new show. It's called Sip, Share, Advocate. Some people know me as a comedian, and we talk about all of the fun things about motherhood and craziness. But I know it's only Monday, but if you have also seen some of our other videos, I talk a lot about anxiety and depression and special needs. We had a video this past summer, which was not my finest hour, but I feel like it is relatable, apparently and sadly, to a lot of other parents in the universe that may have a kid that we'll say is a little different. I'm going to use those because I don't really think it's that different. I actually think there's more kids that are different than are not. So, so tonight we've decided that there was such a powerful response to that video that I thought, okay, you know what? Maybe we need to be talking about it some more. So that video was probably done in the summertime. It's taken me a while to figure out what a show would look like, where we talk about kids that are different. Chandelier's fine, by the way, thank you. By the way, it's on. That's where all this light is coming from. So tonight and every other Monday, we will be bringing in a different expert. You deal with all of the things, Lindsay. So tonight we're launching this new show. If you know of anybody that maybe has a kid who's a little different, maybe you are the kid that's a little different, maybe you know of a mom that you want to tag and say, hey, there's a new show. And we have lots of plans for what the show could be, but we'd love to hear what your thoughts are and the direction we can take the show. But this is it. This is the show. Sip, Share, Advocate. Okay. The odd ducks in the universe. We love the odd ducks. I think I'm an odd duck, and I've made a career out of it. So, it says I'm frozen. Am I frozen to anybody else? By the way, I'm wearing this hat because my hair is hideous. Okay, it's only Friday. All right, so it is a great idea, Mary Ellen, and I'm so glad that you guys are all here. So, like I said, do me a favor and maybe tag somebody that perhaps might like the show, spread the word, and then we'll see what everybody thinks after the show is over and get some feedback. Yes, Terry, I think it's very needed. All right, so here we go. So along my journey, dealing with everything with Brooke and trying to kind of figure things out, which for us began in 2nd grade, and now Brooke is a freshman in high school. We met some wonderful people that helped us along the way. And hopefully we'll be bringing those people onto the show and you'll get to meet them and ask them questions. One of the things that I always found so frustrating, it's 9 o'clock here, Eastern, is that, even if you think there's something wrong, you're not quite sure what to do. And frankly, if the school doesn't agree with you, you're kind of at a crossroads. What do I do? And Jim and I have spent lots of money, sadly, just trying to get testing done and trying to get into the room with somebody that could give us some answers. And so this whole show is about finding these experts who I'm sure any parent who has a kid that's a little different would love to get 5 minutes with. And so that's what it is. It's not going to be me talking. I'll be talking once in a while. But the idea is to bring these experts on and have them talking about things and teaching us something, because I'll tell you some of the greatest pieces of information I got were just from 5-minute talks. Either it was with other moms or with advisors or doctors, and I feel like that's what it's about, is trying to find these little bites. And so the whole show may not apply to you where you are right now in your journey, but maybe some part of it will. And so that's what it's about. And the idea is to not make it so heavy. So my first guest, you're gonna love him. He was was part of our journey with Brooke, and I'm pretty sure he would like to punch me at different times in the process, but he didn't, and that's why he's on the show. So I'm excited to introduce him to you. So everybody welcome Dr. Richard Selznick. Look, he looks so smart. Look at him.
Well, yeah, I'm really thrown by this, Dena.
Are you?
You've talked to other experts?
I have. There are others
and you're having
besides
other
you.
guests
I
on
do.
the show in the future?
Well, let me tell you something. So I sat down with him first. I was like, we're going to do this show. But when I said to him, by the way, so we're going to have other experts talking about anxiety or autism, and he was like, please don't talk about those people in front of me. And I was like, this is going to be awesome. So tell everybody, tell him your real credentials first, and then he's got to give us some fun facts before we start.
My real credentials.
Your real credentials. You're a doctor.
I'm a psychologist.
Okay, whatever.
I've specialized over the years, many years, as my gray hair will attest, to what I see as struggling kids. Primarily kids that have struggled with reading, spelling, and writing. But, you can't help but pull in other things like attention issues, behavior issues.
Right.
And, my brand and what I really try to do is talk in plain language and down-to-earth terms to moms.
That's what I like, yeah.
I don't use a lot of jargon.
Big words.
Yeah, I don't know the big words.
We don't
I'm not going to be able to come up with them. But I really talk in plain language to moms and to parents. And I say moms because dads, they're a whole other thing.
Yeah, they're not gonna.
This format of talking with I wanted to do this kind of thing, get moms in the room and bounce off of questions that they might have, and that's what I'm about.
Are you really not even going to mention the books? Because because every conversation we've had,
I am the author
like,
of
Dena,
going on my fourth book
Four
now.
books. Oh, wait,
Four books.
4 books. So
There
here
they
are
are.
3 of the books. He bought it on a pamphlet. He was like, just in case, Dena, you have it, okay? Here's book number 4, just so you know. He will mention
to do
these.
about dyslexia. But the brand started with Shutdown Learner. My website is shutdownlearner.com.
There it is.
I'm also the director of the Cooper Learning Center, part of Cooper University.
It's big.
Health System Hospital, and I evaluate kids. I do it all myself in the sense of I don't have junior associates doing the evals of the children. I evaluate your kids on my own terms, and that's what I do.
That's what I like you. That's what I like you. But he will bring the books up about them. And this one's coming up. Listen, I would do the
January
same thing.
7th. The new one's coming out. January 7th.
This is the dyslexia one. So you told me that, yours is, and that's why we came to you. So you did our full evaluation, and our issues were kind of comprehension, learning.
Right.
We learned a lot. So what we thought we'd talk about today, because, will you pin his site? Yes, I will tell Megan she will pin the site. She's on it. She can be pinning stuff. All the books throughout the show. I think that what you do is, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I feel like it's the most common of the problems, right? Because like you said, even though some kid might have, ADD or these other issues,
Right.
I feel like there's such a core when it comes to language. Would you find that is to be the case?
Look, I think that you and I talked some about the smooth road and the rough road idea, and it's a concept that I have talked to parents about a lot. The idea of, for about 70% of the population, just starting early on in first grade, what I say, they get out of the gate smoothly. For them, it's a relatively smooth road. Reading isn't such a big deal.
Right.
Spelling and writing, and first, second, third grade, it's
fine.
It's sort of the positive snowball, if you know what I mean. It's
Right.
like it builds on itself. The kid gets confident, feels better moving forward. But then there's the rough road, and that's really what all of my stuff has been about. The kids that are on a rougher road. These are kids who, about 30% of the population, 30% of the kids walking into kindergarten or first grade are going to find it difficult to learn how to read on a basic. This weekend I tested a little boy who, first grade, he's really struggling with identifying sight words, blending his sounds, all
but
that.
Let me ask you, in
yeah.
your experience, because so what we're talking about tonight, the topic overall is when a mom thinks there might be a problem, right? And I think that what you're talking about is experienced by a lot of people, right? Like at the beginning of the educational, where you're first and second grade, for us it was second grade, that you start to see that they're behind the curve. Maybe they're not keeping. We had 2 older children who we will say are typical learners, so I knew that we were moving slower.
Right.
How many of those kids, I mean, are there just some kids that are just slow to start and then they are fine? Or like, is a mom that's watching this and has a kid that's a little bit slower, things are not connecting, sounds are not making sense, how do you know when it's time to like go talk to somebody?
I think that there are a lot of questions in there, and they're great questions. There are some kids who are just kind of like slow learner types, in a sense, who you give them a little more attention, say in first grade, and they take off.
And then they're good, they launch.
Right, but there are plenty of kids, and these are the ones that typically fall under this category. And I'm a reluctant labeler, but let's call it dyslexia. Dyslexia, let's call it learning disabilities. There are these kids that you give them the same kind of remedial attention in first grade, and they don't take off very well. They are stuck. They do struggle more so. So those kids should be identified as early as possible. Like I can identify kids, frankly, I wouldn't be necessarily labeling them in kindergarten, but I could tell you in kindergarten with very good probability if your child is going to be struggling down the road, and that's really important. Is
that like, what is like the most obvious sign for you? Like, are there certain things when it comes to the testing that you're doing?
There are things I'm looking for. It depends. There's a lot within the evaluation profile. So you're looking for, are there highs and significant lows, and certainly letter identification, word identification. But you're also looking for the cognitive profile. How smooth is he with his word awareness, with his vocabulary, receptive vocabulary, expressive vocabulary. Then there are all these other jargony terms like phonemic awareness and phonological, which I don't want to go there. No, people, and it's not, that you could identify in kindergarten or first grade and say to the mom, listen, you might not want to classify your child at this moment in time, but you really should, one, at least be aware of it. At least, what I look at testing is like a snapshot. Like, when I test a child in kindergarten, it's like a snapshot at a moment in time. It's like, okay, here's what the picture is telling us, and now you can take some action, potentially. Like seeking a tutor, talking to the school,
but
doing
wouldn't you say that by kindergarten, my experience is that by first grade, I knew something was slightly off.
Right.
By second grade, I was like, we have a problem. And it was back to school night, and I said to the teacher, can I talk to you? And I know this isn't the night.
Right.
But I think there's something on. She's like, I think there's something going on as well.
Yeah.
I think that the experiences that most moms already know. I don't even think they need you to tell them at kindergarten. So I guess my bigger question is, if your gut says that there's something going on, like, there are 2 scenarios. The teacher is either going to agree with you, and then hopefully we hold hands, we walk into the sunset, and we start figuring this out. Or the teacher says, nope, it's ADD, or somebody just said, it's a boy. Boys act like this.
Yeah. In my book, and School Struggles, as well as in the new book, the What to Do About Dyslexia, I do talk about, and I'm not just doing it to kind of flatter the moms, but there's a blog that I wrote a while ago, and it's in School Struggles. I believe I'm forgetting already which book's in it. But which is, moms, trust your guts. Trust your gut, and trust what what your instincts are on the issue, and 99, I'm telling you, 99% of the time when a mom comes to me and says, listen, I think something's going on with my kid, there is. Now,
yeah, but you gave me the stink eye when I said it too. You were like,
you were the 1%. There is a 1% where I don't, with numbers not going on, but all right.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, all right. So, listen, I call it as I see it.
You did.
If I don't think something's going on very much, I'll say that too. But I'd say 99% of the time, moms know there's something happening. So. And then they could think about what action steps to take.
Well, I think that's the question, is that, what our experience is I thought something was going on. And then I said it to the teacher, and the teacher said, I think something's going on too. And then the administration said, nope.
Right.
And we're not going to do any testing because she was so young, and they were like, testing is not reliable.
And that's where, unfortunately, there are different models. Private testing comes into play. The idea, listen, special education testing is primarily concerned with eligibility for special education. That's really important to kind of keep in mind.
Right.
So their mission is to evaluate whether the child is eligible to be classified in special education, right, for an IEP. An outside person like myself, that's not what my mission is. My mission is to talk to you as the child's mom and say, listen, I think there is something going on, and this is what you should do next. Or no, I think the child's doing. So that's a different. I'm not really concerned about eligibility. About eligibility.
That's but the information you give us, we could take to the school.
You can take to the school and they either accept it or dismiss it. I mean, sometimes they dismiss it. You get into this whole thing with the average range, where the child can be in the lower portion of the average range, or the IQ may not fit the model, and this becomes significantly problematic. I wrote a blog a while ago called "Help, I'm Being Held Hostage to My IQ," where the idea, what happens if you come up with an 87 IQ, let's say, which is in the low average range. It's not, and the child's reading score is an 85, which is in the low average range. Well, the school is going to see that as most likely ineligible, because there's not a discrepancy between his
and that's
IQ
the big word, is discrepancy.
And that in the school model, not in my world. You see, but I understand the issue. That's why it gets so complex for moms. You see what I'm saying? Or parents.
Well, let me ask you this, because when she was younger and we were trying to get the testing.
You didn't come to me when she was younger.
I didn't. I didn't know you existed because I hadn't read your book.
I know.
But one of the things, so one mom just said, what is the first step if you think something's going on in preschool? That was her question.
I'm sorry?
She said, what is the first step? No, what is it? First step to have a gut feeling, kid in preschool.
I would see.
Is that even testable?
Oh, absolutely. Now, it's not, I love testing preschool kids. I think it's you can definitely, I call it identifying red flags of concern.
Like?
Uneven development. If a child is scoring in, say, the 85th percentile in one major domain and the 10th percentile in another major domain, that could be a red flag.
When you say major domain,
like
you're saying like
verbal skills, perceptual skills, fine motor, copying, letter identification. So let's say your child shows reasonable intelligence at a 4-year-old range, right?
Okay.
And coming up a reasonable IQ and all that, okay?
Okay.
But happens to be in the 10th percentile of letter and sound identification.
That's
a problem.
Discrepancy.
Well, I'm not even thinking discrepancy.
Okay, but let me ask you something.
I'm not arguing. I'm saying that's a red flag of concern
but let me
for
ask
me.
You something. All right, let me ask you something. Because I am listening. Because you're using all your...
I'm not jargon.
No, listen, not jargon, but you're telling me about the tasks, right, that you're going to do.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question.
Well, I'm trying to answer a question.
I know. Let me ask you something.
Yes.
Are there tests that moms could do?
No. Next question. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that moms kind of...
You don't want... The moms are in deep enough. You don't want to give them tests now.
Sure, well, no, what I'm saying is...
Of course, online, there are going to be tests that they can find, and they're going to give these tests, and they're going to...
What online tests?
Who knows? They could put in Google this mom test to give to your 4-year-old, and all of a sudden they're testing the kid. And I wouldn't do that,
No, I'm just saying, if I think something's up, and I don't want to spend all the money to go and get this whole thing done, and I'm like, listen, I tell you something. Half the moms that are watching this show right now think that they're crazy because maybe their husbands are like, you're making a big deal out of nothing.
That's the husband line. I do speak men, but I do speak male. I'm good at talking.
And I'm telling you, when I said to my husband and my mom, I said, Mom, I think something's going on. You know what? This is what she said to me. She says, you know what? I've been thinking about it. I think I know what it is. I said, really? Because at that point, I was taking any suggestion I could get. I was like, what is? She goes, she's not eating enough broccoli. That's your problem. And I was like, okay, I'm done.
I wrote that in the report.
Yeah. More broccoli.
Yeah, more broccoli.
So I guess my question is, before we spend all the money on you or someone like you, isn't there here's a simple
Sure.
Okay, what is that?
What is that?
What is that? Like, hey, can you copy this square with this arrow through it? Can you do that?
Look, in basic terms, let's forget hopefully I answered the 4-year-old, the mom and the 4-year-old, that there are some things that you can identify red flags of concern, okay? But let's say starting around first grade. That's really when the kid's now in school, real school, first, second grade. And you don't feel like spending whatever it is, $1,500, $2,000, whatever it is out there. It can be expensive. Well, all right, I don't know. Sure, I would find basic, reading text like that, or say at a first grade level, a second grade level, Dr. Seuss even, very basic books.
Okay.
And listen to the child read. And, how does your child sound when reading out loud? Are they reading smoothly? Are they reading fluently? Those are fundamental questions that are really important. So if your child's in second grade and you're opening up one fish, two fish, and the kid's reading it one, that's potentially a problem. That's a concern. Now, certainly as a child goes into third and fourth grade, you have to do some pretty serious heavy lifting as a child with the material they give those kids. So that by third grade, you're reading large words in the text, and most of the time kids with these issues can't manage that. Yeah. And they're overwhelmed. So mom can open up a reasonable graded level series and listen to the child read out loud. Or look at their spelling and writing samples. Moms bring me that stuff all the time. They know they're always bringing me, look at this sample, look at that sample, look, that's really common.
How many, just out of curiosity, because some people are asking about kids that are older, because we've talked mostly about kids that are in those younger years, right, where it should be obvious. But what if you're a parent that your kid has been struggling forever? Maybe your kid is in 6th grade. Maybe your kid is in high school.
Maybe your kid's a 25-year-old. I test 25 and 30-year-olds sometimes, where it's like, okay, with the fundamental questions of, do I have dyslexia? Do I have a reading disability, learning disability? And those, so yeah, sure.
Do you see high numbers of people coming to you in those upper grades?
Look, this isn't a plug. Shutdown Learner was primarily about teenagers, originally about teenagers who were spatial thinkers, visual thinkers. I call them Lego kids in the book. These are kids that love hands-on activities, so that when they can build all kinds of things, or they're really artistically inclined, visually, but they hate reading, spelling, and writing. Well, now what happens when they're 13 and 14 and these issues haven't been addressed? Or 17 and 18, or going into college? That's significant. So absolutely, it's not too late. I guess that's the message.
So my question, goes back to just our personal story, is that, when she was I think she was in 2nd or 3rd grade when I was asking for the testing, but all they did was a screening. And on the screening, she was fine. But they wouldn't pay for auditory processing because they said that was an unreliable test up until she was 9. I think she was 7. If they had done deeper on a screening, do you think it would have shown more?
I think I go back to the model that the school is looking at. I think that where you're getting stuck, and
I am getting stuck. No, I am. Because I'm still angry about it.
We should talk about it.
I'm telling you.
How are we doing out there?
We're good. They're asking. No, somebody just asked a question. It says, what if grade 3 and can't read?
Meaning that the child can't read the text?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, they potentially you would find a person, I don't, like myself in your community, who can evaluate the child and talk to you in plain language as to what's going on with the kid. That's what I'd be recommending, The school model, the school may evaluate the child, I don't know if you've gone to your school and talked to them about it. I'm not anti-school. I come out of school stock myself, but I understand that their model is a different model. That's my basic point. That's where I was saying you were getting stuck. That early on they may screen the child and say, from our point of view, the child is falling in a normal range, an average range. But from another lens, from a different perspective, you're going to see that there are some of these what I call red flags of concern.
Well, they're not even red flags. They were gaping holes.
Well, you're saying they're gaping holes.
They were gaping holes.
But that has to be quantified as well as, that's something that has to be determined through an evaluation. You can't just go, well, she's got gaping holes.
No, but that's what I'm saying is that I knew there were gaping holes. The screening didn't show it. And you know what they kept saying? They kept saying, we have to wait. And I said, well, what are we waiting for? We have to wait for her to fall away from the mean, right? So there was like, this is the learning curve that she's on, and when she starts to fall enough away, then we'll help you. I go, but if we know that this is going to happen, why are we not jumping in? That's my problem. This is the mom problem. Go ahead. What's your answer for that one?
Well,
no answer.
No, I have tons of answers.
Tell me.
I mean,
I'm not going to like them.
I've said it already in the sense of that may not fit their model. So then it is falling to you to have to seek outside services and find good tutoring, good testing first. That somebody you can trust, somebody you can feel comfortable with. That's a very important thing.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, that person should be able to talk to you as I believe I do in plain language and straightforward terms. Number three, then it's like, well, what do we do about it next? There's certainly that evaluator, like I always offer to talk to the school. They can call me, I can call them. Mm-hmm. I make suggestions for the school, certainly in almost all my reports. But then, I also would probably recommend that you get a certain kind of tutoring on the outside. There's specialized tutoring depending upon the kind of problem that's been identified.
Okay, but let me stop you right there. How do you get tutoring for something and you don't even know what it is?
Well, that's my job.
No, but I'm saying to you, in second grade, we were screened. Nothing.
Yeah, but, okay, listen. I'm going to evaluate you next week. Because you keep perseverating on this point.
I have a lot of problems.
I don't know what to tell you, but listen.
I'm just saying there are people out there doing this right now.
I'm waving a white flag. I give up.
Just saying.
I'm done.
This was 6 years ago.
Listen,
still angry.
Okay, but I think that if you folks out there in Facebook land, in TV land, whatever this is, if you find in your community, wherever you are, the right kind of person to consult with, and you can consult. You can come to my website and whatever, and I do get back to people if you're living in wherever. I've been contacted from literally all over the world, but people can send me their reports. I can review them with you. But the point is, maybe you didn't have I don't know who you saw, and I don't want to know who you saw back in second grade. But maybe you needed to have a certain kind of evaluation done or a certain kind of assessment that the person could have said to you, listen, here are the issues, and here's what you do next. That's hopefully what I'm going to do with you, Mm-hmm. Now, it's not going to be like there's no fix to this stuff, meaning it's not like a broken bone or a tooth cavity or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not going to be, we're going to fix the problem. But we can certainly work on the skills and manage the skills and get the kid moving in the right direction, get the mom understanding things.
So somebody just wrote and said, how do you find the right person?
That's a great question. It's a great question. Listen,
in their community?
It's a really good question, and it's a hard one. I think I would, and I tend to like, more often than not, as a psychologist, again, there are things about psychology that I don't do, but this is the realm that I'm in. But more often than not, you look for I think a psychologist, because they do broad-based testing. Like, I don't do a narrow band assessment. I'm not just testing vision, let's say, or auditory. I'm testing a lot of different areas. That's number one. So find a psychologist who's experienced, and you have to interview the person a little bit over the phone, or get their reputation, who's experienced in assessing children and children's issues. I really like word of mouth, frankly. I think word of mouth is huge. I don't know how you got to me, but my assumption is that you got to me through some kind of version of word of mouth. Now, stop. I don't remember how you got to me. But
I've heard your name for years, and then somebody bought me. I have the Shutdown Learner and School Struggles. Never read them.
I'll sign them to you later. But word of mouth is really very valuable, and frankly, moms, you're networked more often than not. Talk to your girlfriend, talk to the friends, talk to.
But I guess my question
is... But that's important. Now, also, another recommendation I would have, though, is to talk to pediatricians. I find pediatricians, because they know the people in the community. So many times pediatricians have referred to me. They'll talk to you, and I find pediatricians to be, kind of down to earth professionally, and I think you can really chat with them about who to go to.
Okay, but you're
didn't I answer the question?
No, it's a good question, but I get it's just a more specific question. You're a psychologist,
correct?
But you specialize in educational testing. I came out
of a tradition. First of all, I used to be a teacher back in the day in Staten Island. That was one of my fun facts I was going to tell you.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear your fun facts.
I'm from Staten Island, New York, and back in the day I was a special education teacher, and then later on I came to Temple University, and I always have been in this world of one foot in the world of psychology and one foot in the world of reading and education. I was influenced by certain mentors along the way who really impacted me, and every day I'd like to believe I carry out the kind of work that they imparted on me. Mm-hmm. Okay, I worked at the Hilltop Prep School in the main line of Philadelphia, and those kids, many of them are on my Facebook page actually at this point as full-fledged adults. But Hilltop was a school in the main line for kids with learning disabilities, adolescents, and where you learn about this stuff is interacting with kids and interacting with the moms, and it's not as much from the textbooks or the books. So, all the way through, that's been the kind of. But
But if I wanted to find a you in Vermont,
I would ask. Look,
are there specific things I should be asking for?
I would ask for a psychologist who specializes in reading or educational issues. A psychologist who specializes in learning disabilities, a psychologist who specializes in dyslexia, those kinds of things. And I think that would lead to, now it doesn't have to be a psychologist, it could be, there are learning specialists out there as well who, they, depending upon the state, you could be going in, in New Jersey, there are learning disability consultants, you know what I mean? So each state has its own, but it doesn't have to be a psychologist, it could be a learning specialist, a reading specialist, that kind of person. So, but again, I just want to summarize in a sense by saying word of mouth and pediatricians are really good ways to find the people.
You were really good tonight. Yay! We're going to do the show until 9:45, so you have a couple minutes left. But does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Dr. Selznick? It says we teachers are frustrated with the system too.
Yeah, I really empathize with that. I mean, I think that teachers do feel that, and I'm not, I don't knock schools. I don't think. I think that they're in a tough spot. So it's easy for me to say, sitting out in my own little office in Voorhees, New Jersey, or whatever, that I'm commenting on what a school should or shouldn't do. They're under a lot of stress. They have a lot of forces at work there with schools, that shape how things are done. So.
Well, it was interesting. It says, are sensory issues an indicator of possible learning disabilities?
Yeah, I mean, sensory issues, that's one of those things that comes up a lot with young kids, I think, in particular. I believe it, as if I'm translating what's being said here, with sensory issues, these are kids that tend to react very strongly to, relatively small sensory stuff. And yeah, I think there's one of those red flag issues that, could be leading to impulsivity, difficulty managing their, self-regulating. That's a term that comes up a lot. Little kids have real trouble. I find a lot, I would love to do a talk with you on indulgence in modern childhood, frankly. A lot of kids can't tolerate frustration these days, but that's not what you're saying with the sensory. But yeah, I would watch that closely. I think that's something to track.
Somebody just said, I was just diagnosed with ADD just this year and I'm 35. Is it normal to be diagnosed at my age?
It's normal in the sense that I think that a lot of people have been a bit under the radar screen, so to speak. They may have had a sense that school wasn't the greatest thing for them, or they may feel like, now I'm in this office position, or I'm at my job and I'm not quite, I'm not focused that well, so I go to talk to a neurologist, or I'll go to talk to, a lot of, medical specialists, as an adult, that tends to be the direction you would go. You would not go to a psychologist first. You don't tend to need the reading, spelling, and writing and the IQ testing. So you would consult with either a psychiatrist, a neurologist, or your family physician. And they'll take your history and they'll do some rating scales and things like that. And yeah, so it's not that unusual to have an adult ADHD.
So going back to that sensor, somebody says, what are your views on cyber schools?
Cyber schools.
Do you find that many of your like what happens to the kids after they leave you? Are they tending to?
Yeah, I think cyber schools. I mean, I don't know that much about them, to be honest. I'm a little reluctant with kids these days, and maybe it's because of the generation gap. I don't know. I mean, I think of myself as a pretty technologically aware person, but I'm finding kids to be. They don't say hello to me. They don't say goodbye. They're completely, I'm being a little bit strong, absorbed in their screens, and I'll joke with them about it to try to get them out of it a little bit. The parents are coming to me about executive function issues and how to get the kid organized and focused and all this other stuff, and they're a little too screen obsessed, frankly. I mean, I find kids to be very, very screen addicted. So I worry about a cyber school just feeding into that, but I'm sure that there's many good things that could be done with the cyber school as well.
Somebody just asked about inattentive ADD. I don't know if you do much with that, but she said, do kids with inattentive ADD type outgrow it? Do you deal with that much?
Yeah, we deal with it all the time. I deal with it all the time.
Do they outgrow it? I feel like...
I mean, look, I'm not just about reading. I want to make sure that I'm clear about what I do. I mean, so much of what I do involves executive functioning, ADD, ADHD... because it's a cluster, it's a package. These things don't. It's not just he's got this reading problem, or he has this. These are things that co-occur. They go together. So many of the kids that I evaluate are also seen as distractible. They're inattentive. They're not. I joke that I'm going to have a parade down Broad Street with all of the boys, in particular the boys who are like. The ADD executive function kids following behind, here there are thousands of kids marching to this, you know what I mean? So, look, inattentive ADD is a real issue. I mean, in the sense of like these kids, and frankly, school's boring a lot of times. I mean, a lot of times the worksheets are tough, and these kids have a hard time with it. I'm not knocking the school out, but school is school. It always was, and there's a lot of facets of school that are not fun and exciting. So, there's a certain element of get your work done. Face the facts, do your homework, what I mean?
Interesting.
How are we doing out there?
We're doing good. We have just a few minutes left. I don't know if you deal with it. How do you help depression in learning disabled kids? Do you deal with that?
Sure.
Is it?
Sure. I mean, again, Shutdown Learner was about kids who were discouraged. That's really what the primary point of it was. That these are discouraged kids who shut down primarily because, they've been feeling a sense of defeat for so many years. Look, I try to connect with kids. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do sometimes, but when a kid comes in, and I don't know how to define it, but it's something like getting under their skin, if you know what I mean, like where you connect and join with the kid and get the kid feeling better about himself and feeling like, listen, you're not an F up, you're not what you think you are, you're not a loser, and you got to break that loser cycle. And that's, look, it's a lot, trust me, it's a lot easier said than done. So it's like be careful what you wish for sometimes. I mean, in the sense of like having people come in, these are hard issues. They're not easily overcome. But that's what I'd be thinking about. How do you get the kid connected with somebody within your community, with somebody you can talk to, who they can feel like, break that loser cycle in their head. And
I think that goes back to, I mean, my big fight was about testing. Like she could tell me what the answer was, but she can't put it on paper. And if she can't put it on paper, she fails. And if she fails, then she's a loser and she can't pass the test. And my thing is, why do we keep testing her this way? Because then it creates depression. I can't understand it, yada, yada.
Look, I worry about that too. I worry about kids getting over-tested, that it's like there's a point of like, all right, this poor kid's getting evaluated again. So I think that there could be some of that going on too with a kid, feeling like, you're going to evaluate and look at me one more time.
Yeah.
And what's the matter with my brain? And I try to normalize it for kids. There's nothing wrong with your brain, but you got some of these things that we got to work on.
And we got to figure it out. So a lot of people were asking questions while you were talking. Somebody brought up the topic of ADD and lying. which I think could be a whole topic in and of itself. But the depression, anxiety is a big one. We are hoping to get a kind of an anxiety expert on. It's not always you. Why isn't she using a scribe or iPad? Who's she talking about? I don't know who's the she in that scenario.
Lying and ADD. Part of the thing about lying and ADD is I think that ADD kids, I learned this a lot of years ago at Hilltop, where you learn that kids don't, with ADD, they're not great at assessing cause and effect, if you know what I mean. They don't necessarily assess consequences, like if I do X, this could happen to me. So they maybe are a bit impulsive.
I was going to say,
kids.
I think it's a lot of impulsivity.
Yeah, it's impulsivity, not thinking through the consequences, and then all of a sudden you're in trouble. And that's what, look, I've said prisons are filled with people, not kids, people with learning disabilities and ADD and all that. They haven't, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, wow, I got myself into real trouble. And I think that happens to kids in school a lot. Plus, this is truly a whole other topic. ADD kids, learning disabilities kids, they have a tougher time on the social side of things. I mean, that's in one of my books too, where I talk about the social side of the road, meaning, frequently these people have a way of getting on others' nerves a little bit, or they, again, calling out or not reading social cues, things like that,
Okay. All right. Can you teach empathy to a child with a learning disability?
I think empathy is hard to teach, but I do think that it could be. I think that you can work on it with a kid with learning. I don't think that I would preclude learning disability would be the issue that would be getting in the way. I think that some people lack the empathy gene. I don't want to go political on this one. Some people lack the empathy gene, but I think it could be talked about. How would it make you feel if somebody said that to you? What would you feel like if somebody's making fun of you, things like that. And, you just have, look, gang, learning disabilities, ADHD, all that stuff, it just means you have to, it's like if it takes one kid 10 times to kind of acquire a skill, it might take a kid with learning issues 500 times. You might have to just keep working at it, It's just a lot more patience. That should be a big takeaway here, patience. These kids require tremendous more patience over time, which is, hard because they pluck our nerves a little bit, and we lose our patience with these kids.
Yeah, Amy said, I so needed this tonight. I'm going to check out these books. What books? These books, Amy?
Shutdownlearner.com. My blog comes out every Friday, gang. Listen.
Oh, wait, this way.
Go on shutdownlearner.com and sign up for my blog. Can you show the? Are they?
Yeah, the blog.
The website is at the bottom of it, though.
No, the website's where she pinned it. Don't you worry about the technology. I know you're not a fan. This is the new one coming out because he's. Oh, I don't want to cover your face. This one is. When does this one come out?
January 7th.
January 7th.
At least that's when it's scheduled to come out. But if you, all kidding aside, listen, I have over, and they're all free, folks. If you go on Shutdown Learner, right now for the plucking for no cost. There are nearly 350 blog posts that I've been writing, and I write them for moms, honestly. I write them to you about your kids. I'm not speaking to professionals. I'm writing to you, the moms, about what's going on with your kid. I'm not saying I'm right all the time, but they're just my perspective, And so you can go, and they're all organized in categories: reading issues, behavior issues, mom issues, stuff like that. And there's also some great interviews with experts. I've interviewed other experts like we're doing tonight on that site. There's also podcasts of mine that I've done before that you can get. It's all there.
Hey, look at this one. I think this is important. She says, it's hard as a mom to differentiate between being patient and being a pushover.
Oh, that's so true. That is so true. We could do a whole topic on that alone. I just have a great point, and I talk about it all the time. Moms, in this day and age, it tends to be like a little too, oh, you poor thing, you poor thing, you poor baby. And more often than not, I find myself with the kids saying, listen, man, depending upon circumstances, of course, but you have to, in a sense, tough it up here. And, you want to go play on your screens and you want to go do all these stuff. Well, you're not getting on the iPad tonight until you've really legitimately worked on your homework. And I try to get the moms to toughen up their nerve a little bit and to not be such a pushover. Moms can be a little too syrupy from my point of view. There's a little too much, oh, you did so wonderfully. Oh. I'm like, whoa, it's not that great. It wasn't that big a deal.
Listen, if it's something that you've been struggling with,
it's
come on.
It's too much
give me
stuff.
A break.
Give me a break, too. It's too much syrup. And it's like, you got to watch that. You know, I mean, I'm not saying to be mean with a kid. I'm certainly not. But it's like, you know, be realistic. And the kid sees it. The kid smells weakness like a shark. They know when they smell a little drop of blood.
Well, they can tell.
And they know. Like,
if my husband says something, she'll just walk away. If I come in, you better go over there, pick it up, or I will take your stuff away for a week, and then bam,
we could do a whole talk just on kid manipulation, honestly. I mean, you know, like kids manipulate. As long as you don't invite another expert to talk about it.
No, of course, never.
It would really annoy me. Kid manipulation is very real. I mean, I know we don't think our kids manipulate. No, we want to talk about that.
That's a whole different.
I don't want to talk about that.
See, this is it Iano? Is that your Ianwo? So she said homework takes 4 hours a day. I'm going to tell you something.
That's brutal.
We used to do 5 hours a day. And at first, Brooke used to roll around on the floor. And then after about 5 days of that, I was rolling around the floor. And then everybody was rolling around the floor. And I was like, this is not normal.
We don't have time to do it, but I would ask that person, why is it taking 4 hours? I mean, is it,
because it
does. Well, no, I mean, there could be 20 reasons why homework takes 4 hours, ranging from, you know, good reasons to not great reasons.
But say you're sitting at the table and it's taking 4 hours and there are very few distractions other than the kid rolling around the floor.
That's a problem.
Then you have to get evaluated.
Well, that's a problem. I mean, that's a problem. That could be a school problem. Okay, here's the way I look at it. It could be an inside-the-head problem and an outside-the-head problem.
Go ahead.
Wait, are you waiting
There's a bug in here. I don't know where it came from, but as soon as the show started. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Is this part of the comedy routine?
No, go ahead. It's just a bug. Go ahead. What were you saying?
All right, I'm trying.
Did you forget?
Distracting me.
Did you forget?
There are outside-the-head factors and inside-the-head factors. What I mean by that is, you know, outside-the-head factors are just what we were, in fact, experiencing. And let's say the household's chaotic and it's distractible, or let's say, who knows what. It's not necessarily in the kid's head that's the issue. But then there are inside. So it could be that he's a slow processor. It could be that he really works. You know, I had a kid, like I said, this weekend who was a very slow processor. Well, that's an inside-the-head factor. Outside-the-head means, you know, maybe the school's giving the kid inappropriate work. Well,
so one of the moms just said, 20 minutes and you should be done. I'm like, well, then none of the homework would have been done.
20 minutes is nice. But, you know, but it could be, what I would be doing the 4-hour mom back when, I don't know when it was, I'm not reading the questions here. But the 4-hour person, I would be going back to the school politely and saying, listen, I train parents to do a lot of head scratching, you know, like Columbo used to do, like, you know, I'm a little confused here. Should homework be taken 4 hours, that kind of thing? And they're like, no. Okay, well, maybe, is the work maybe too hard for him or her? You know, maybe the work is above his level, do you think? That kind of, you know, you have to really evaluate. This is much of what I do. Is it work that the child is getting at their frustration level? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's really important.
All right, listen, we're 3 minutes over now. So listen, everybody, let's hear it for Dr. Selznick. He did such a good job tonight. Now listen, don't forget, shutdownlearner.com.
Sign up for the blog.
This
get
comes
the free
out
stuff.
January
buy
7th.
the books.
And this
I'll
is
sign them to you if you buy the book too.
They'll sign it.
No, seriously, look, all kidding aside, they're very plain language, and they're just there to be as hand-holding to parents as I know how to be. That's really what I'm trying to do with it. Okay?
I think that there are people that need it, so I'm glad you're here.
Tons.
All right,
Thank
so
you very
listen,
much.
I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. We'll be back here in 2 Mondays, maybe with a different expert. I don't know. But it'll definitely be a different topic. If you'd like to send us some ideas in terms of topics that you would like to hear about, just post them below. As you know, this video will live on our Facebook for a while. So say, hey, I'd love to hear you talk about this topic or that topic, and we'll put them into the pool and see if we can get it together.
Thank you so much for having me. I really
Thanks
enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Did you? Because you got a little hot in the middle.
We like to get it feisty. We're fun feisty. Come on.
All right, thanks everybody for watching. If you get a chance,
Bye.
make sure that you comment. If you know of somebody that needs to hear this, make sure you can tag them below, and hopefully this was helpful. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.